Okay, everybody, here we go. Another week in the Freak Show. And it's so freaky, it's even getting more freaky. Let's talk about why. So this is my pre-market report on this Monday, May 15, 2023. So let's start off with some of the economic news, and I think you're all going to love this. So here we go again. I'm laughing, but it's just pathetic here. So we all understand, you and I, at least I hope we do here. We, here in the United States, we have become an import nation. We don't make anything. We don't export anything anymore. So just by some, I don't know, freak of nature, it turns out that according to the Federal Reserve's manufacturing index, well, we just fell off of a cliff, literally. Okay, we already know, again, you and I, this is manufacturing down, lower, 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 lower. People in the manufacturing sector are losing their jobs like there's literally no tomorrow because, in my opinion, with regard to factory activity here in the United States, it's just literally done. So that's the story number one this morning. Manufacturing activity continues to crater deeply, more deeply should I say, into negative territory. This has got to be making, let's say just for example, China really, really happy right now. Now, also on the economic front. So what do you and I also know is going on and everyone else around us, at least they should? Inflation continues to rise by their own numbers. Duh. Inflation continues to rise, okay, despite, the fight of their lives we've been hearing about, you and me. It's a joke. You gotta be kidding me. Central banks raising rates, hasn't done a damn thing, so inflation continues to rise. Now, if you look at what people are earning, weighed against inflation, this is called real wages, what people are actually earning, okay? Again, another drop here. So, what are we talking about? We're talking about literally theft on an insane scale as central banks continue to inflate. Again, if they really, really, really wanted to stop inflation, they can do it. The Federal Reserve can do it. Just have the major institutions, the big banks, increase their capital reserves above zero. I wonder why. Let me ask you a question. We're friends, right? We can talk about lots of things. Let's keep this between you and I. But why do you think, what's your opinion as to why not a single, not one mainstream media outlet that I've ever come across, mentioned the fact that the Federal Reserve can, in fact, have these major institutions increase their capital reserve requirements, therefore contracting the money supply overnight, and then inflation would drop? Well, guess what? You're not allowed to know that. This is why they're not allowing you to know that. So, we also heard from another freak from the Federal Reserve. Now, this guy, Federal Reserve President Bostic, they float him out. He's kind of one of their, superstars, I guess, these days. We need to come up with a name for Bostic. Okay. So, this is what he had to say. And I'm going to tell you right now, believe it or not, I agree with the man. Okay. He's saying that there will not be a rate cut this year. Now, most of you know, because I've covered this a lot as of late, the market and a lot of people, even who follow this blog, believe that the Fed is going to cut rates sooner than later, somewhere like maybe June or even July. I'm going to tell you again, ain't going to happen, okay? I had said the earliest we're going to get a cut here would be September. Now, excuse me. Bostic, I need a name for this guy. Bostic. I don't know. Help me out. Bostic is saying no, there will not be a cut this year. You have to understand, look, the market, and again, a lot of people do believe the Fed is going to cut sooner than later. And this won't happen because why? Why is Greg Mannarino saying it won't happen? What's really, really going on here? Well, they're dismantling the system piece by piece, as you all know, and they are deliberately keeping pressure on the consumer. Now, with regard to pressure on the consumer here, going back to the economic front, because this is kind of interesting. So, consumer spending, we talked about this maybe 2 weeks ago, is starting to come down. and we found this out again today, consumer spending dropping. Meanwhile, borrowing is kind of off the Richter scale here. And it's an interesting phenomenon. Let's put this together. People continue to borrow, melting their credit cards here, taking out personal loans, whatever they can do just to try to make ends meet. Meanwhile, they're spending less. What does that tell you? It tells you that there's a big problem here, okay? What is the U.S. economy literally 70% dependent on? Consumer spending. If consumers aren't spending because they can't, again, real wages falling off of a cliff, people can't make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck, the majority of American citizens, and this is a phenomenon that's sweeping the world. Well, you can see where we're going. The Federal Reserve and central banks plan here to kill the economy on a global scale and destroy the consumer, and decapitate the consumer here. Again, what are they trying to do? Create that two-tier society that you and I have spoken about since time immemorial here. Extreme haves, extreme have-nots, a wipeout of the middle class, creating people who are more people dependent on the system, on their system, as they dismantle their system here so they can roll out the new system. You understand? All of you got this 100%. Now, let's go look over here at the market here. I'm looking at this right now. So stock futures are pointing towards a higher open. Trading doesn't start for about 51 minutes to be precise from the time I am doing this video blog. So stock futures are slightly higher. You got gold and silver catching a bid. You got crude oil catching a bid. You got Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies catching a bid. You got the relative strength of the dollar lower, and you got the 10-year yield kind of where it's been for a while here. And it's an interesting phenomenon that we've been seeing here, this yo-yo effect in the 10-year yield. The entire freaking yield curve dropped substantially, as you're well aware. I covered this recently. This is fear. And we'll see how that plays out as well moving forward. It's going to be interesting, people. Look, let me just say this too. You and I could not possibly be living in more interesting times. Who needs to watch television or anything else or some sitcom when you can watch this and laugh too? I laugh all the time, as you can see. You know, and a lot of times when I laugh, some of you get pissed off. I know that when I laugh. Oh, why is Greg laughing at this situation? I can't help myself because it's either laugh or cry, and I don't want to cry. You know, so you gotta step back, look at this current situation, and say, you know, when are people gonna wake up? I don't think they're ever going to wake up. People are so stuck in, you know, the political landscape right now, as it's designed to do, okay? Get people distracted, focus on nonsensical things here. Meanwhile, central banks, who are the government, are in here doing whatever they want to do. And that is, of course, dismantle the world economy, crush the consumer, force people to continue to borrow beyond their eyeballs so they become more dependent on the system here. They don't know how they're going to make ends meet here. You know, financial stress is huge on people, and it disrupts marriages, relationships. It causes depression, anxiety, sickness, obviously. When I was in school, when I was learning medicine, I had to write a paper on the effects of stress on the body's immune system. The psychoneuroimmunology was actually the course I had to take. And I had to write a paper on the effects of how stress affects the immune system. And obviously, it is very negative. The more stressed out people become, the worse off their immune system gets, and the more they become dependent on God knows what from the pharmaceutical companies. It's all a game. This whole thing just plays into itself. It's a self-feeding mechanism, and you all know that as well. So anyway, people, that's where we stand today. So again, just real quick on this market, stock futures are going to open slightly higher. Let's see where we end the day. 10-year yield stable, dollar weaker, crypto's catching a bid, gold and silver catching a bid, crude oil catching a bid, dollar lower here. Economic news couldn't possibly be worse. Manufacturing here in the United States is over. That means the United States is over. Okay, we already know that. Okay, this is not the United States of America anymore. This is some kind of a corporate agenda. They are determined to wipe out small businesses. That's really what's going on here. It's an elimination. It's an extermination. Why do you think they're making credit hard to get for consumers and for small businesses. Meanwhile, these big corporations who are awash with cash, all part of the military-industrial complex, they get whatever they want to. We have enough money to funnel billions, tens of billions, hundreds of billions over to a war. But we can't get our act together here in the United States. We can't fund ourselves. We can't fund our own government. We have to promise to borrow more money with this debt ceiling. That's all it is. It's a promise to borrow more money from... Let me explain this to you. Why do you think they're floating out Janet Yellen, former Fed chair? Why do you think they have Fed chair, current Powell, explaining how dire a situation it is if we don't raise the debt ceiling? You see, because the central banks depend on that. Okay, the Federal Reserve, none more so. Every central bank is dependent on the ability to issue more of their product to all of us here. We work for the privilege to borrow those bills from a central bank wherever you live in the world. And again, there's an opportunity here. We're not going to take it, though. There's an opportunity here to take down the central bank system. If we can't borrow anymore, central banks die. You understand that? How do you kill a central bank? You prevent them from issuing one extra dollar bill out of thin air. They just start to die off. You understand? I think you do. At least I hope so. They're already in breach of contract. What's the Fed's two mandates here? Price stability and full employment. Price stability? Nothing. All we're getting is rising inflation here. So if we had a real representative government here, we could eliminate the Federal Reserve. But you don't hear anything about that, do you? No. It's about empowering the Federal Reserve, causing them to borrow more money, negative rates, weaker currencies, all the things the last president said, Trump, and the current one too. No difference here. They look different, but there's the same basic premise. Support the Federal Reserve. Support the Federal Reserve. Why do you think President Trump was calling for a weaker dollar? Why do you think President Trump was calling for negative rates? Because he wanted to get rid of the Fed? No. It would empower the Fed in this particular case here. There's no saving grace here, people. Whoever they want to put, and they've already chosen the next president, believe me, whoever they put behind the Resolute desk is not going to help you at all. I'll leave you with that. All right, this guy here loves you a lot from the heart. We covered so much here today. I don't think any of this is really a surprise. You and I, we're going to reconvene later for my live stream, 1:05 p.m. Pacific time. Okay? And that's going to be lovely. Have your questions ready for me, people. I love interacting with you. It's fantastic. And that's what the live stream is all about. Not just so I can sit here and blab and blab and blab and blab. So you and I could kind of, put a perspective on things here. But I don't think anything is a surprise to a single person that follows this blog. You all are way, 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 way ahead of the curve, right? This guy here loves you from the heart. I mean that. Please share the video. Please comment. Thumbs up. I count on those things. If you notice, the more thumbs up, the more YouTube likes to show these videos here, and it gets the work out there, and maybe people need to hear this kind of stuff. If you believe that's true, thumbs up is appreciated. All right, people? Love you a lot. See you later.